When Dr. Vaughn asked me to come initially to bring greetings this morning, I understood that I was just bringing greetings, and it took me a moment to listen again when he said he wanted me to talk about entrepreneurial opportunities and entrepreneurship within a city or a community. So I had to go back and regroup and update my notes. So I've done my greetings part. That's very brief, and I can come in and go out on the greetings. I can tell you about Tuskegee, and we're in Montgomery, so on behalf of Mayor Todd Strange, welcome to Montgomery. And on behalf of Tuskegee, we welcome you to the city of Tuskegee and all we do at Tuskegee and with Tuskegee University, our partner in the Tuskegee community. And my partner, Commissioner Miles Robinson, of Macon County Commission. Appreciate all that you do and all we do together, because that's key in anything that you do, any form of business, particularly in entrepreneurship. You want to network, find the people that you can work with, find out what works for you and who works for you and with you. That's very, very important when you're dealing with business and entrepreneurship. So what we'll do is I'll talk briefly about situation, what entrepreneurship does and means to a city, especially a small community. And then we'll talk about entrepreneurs and then some things I've experienced as business and economic developer at the Tuskegee Macon County Community Development Corporation, where I've dealt with a lot of entrepreneurs, potential entrepreneurs, and want-to-be entrepreneurs, some successful, many successful, and some not quite so successful, and things that I've encountered there that I want you to take note of. I know many of you here are already in business. I know many of you here in general, and so I just hope I can share something additional with you, and we'll have questions and answers to some of the things that I mentioned. First of all, as you know, entrepreneurs are a very, very important part of any community. A major city like Montgomery, you've seen the entrepreneurs here. Now there's a new surge in terms of what is developing with social media, with development in electronics, whole new arena you have here in Montgomery. You have entrepreneurs getting involved in different levels. You have things that you may not have in a smaller community because it's a larger community, it's a more developed community. So you'll have entrepreneurs involved. You have to figure out where you can get involved in a city such as this size, where your niche is and where the need is for your particular skill, your interest, or your field of business. In a small community, we need just about everything. And so you'll see that once you look at a community, you decide what it is that you can supply. What is that need? What is that area that needs to be fulfilled or addressed? And then it makes it easier as you come in terms of a particular business. And there was a recent article that expressed the importance of entrepreneurs in a small community. Why is it so much more important in a small community? Because, as I said, there are so many services that you do not have in a small community. If you look at our community, there's a need for restaurants. There's a need for transportation services. There's a need for catering services. There's a need for additional housing. There's just so many vast needs in our community, and the key is to identify which need is it that you want to address and that you can address. Where is your interest? Because as an entrepreneur, one of the challenges is to find something that you're interested in, because as I'll say in a minute, one of the things you find out about entrepreneurs, they're going to work a lot of long, hard hours. A lot of long, hard hours. A lot of people go into business because they think that they don't want to work for somebody else because they're tired of working for them. You put in that 8 hours and you get tired of that attitude and all of that. But then you come to find out as an entrepreneur, you're going to put in a lot more than 8 hours. Put in more like 16 hours. You're working for yourself. And you can't cuss out the boss. You cuss out yourself at the end of the day. And you might not get paid. So it's a different atmosphere, but it can be very, very rewarding. The things that entrepreneurs contribute to answer the question that Dr. Vaughn asked, encouraging entrepreneurship and small business from the viewpoint of a municipality. Things that they contribute most in our community are the dollars, as in any other business. Entrepreneurs create new dollars in the community. You bring in a service that's not there, that generates dollars in terms of dollars turning over in the community, and then tax dollars, which Commissioner and I like. The dollars turning over are important because it creates more business activity, and it's local money. See, a lot of times money comes through your community, it goes right back out. And that doesn't give us the greatest benefit. But local entrepreneurs, their money generally stays in the community. Why? Because you're dealing with local people. And that money's going to turn over. You're going to turn to somebody else that you know locally to get other business. I might turn to Brother Horatio Lee for some engineering services because I know him. I'll turn to Brother Varner, get a contract with him, which we've done many times before, because I know what he can do and I know him. So your money will stay locally. I won't be going all the way to Birmingham or to Atlanta or somewhere else. Local entrepreneurs spend a lot of their money locally. So that helps create money in your community. That local money creates local taxes. And that's one of the biggest benefits that you get out of having entrepreneurs. If it weren't for entrepreneurs in small communities, our tax base would be much, much smaller. This next thing is it creates jobs. Now, entrepreneurs don't create a tremendous number of jobs when they first start, but as I'll say in a minute, you'll see some who start small, the number of jobs may start with just 1 or 2, and sometimes as the business increases and is successful, you'll see it increase, the number of jobs increases. Whether they're full-time or part-time, somebody's getting paid, which helps the city, which helps the community, which helps the family, which helps everything else grow. So it creates opportunity, creates jobs, different levels. Next thing entrepreneurs do in the community, they provide services. They provide services that otherwise would not be there. Now in our community, for instance, we don't have a lot of restaurants. That's something we're working on, we hope to improve. But without restaurants, we can't service a lot of the tourists. We get a tremendous number of tourists in our community, but we don't get a lot of revenue from those tourists. And so one of the things that we did, we applied for a grant. Unfortunately, we didn't get the grant we expected. We got about 1/4 of the grant. I actually think what happened when we kept asking the people what happened to the grant, they got tired of us coming, so they gave us a piece of what we asked for, about 1/4 of it. Just enough for us to do some study, but not to do the real study that we intended to do. What we were trying to do was look at the fact that Tuskegee, at one time, not anymore, but at one time, we got the largest number of tourists in the state because of all the historic sites. National Historic Site at Tuskegee University, you got the Carvin Museum, you got the Oaks across the street, you have the History Center downtown, and most of all, you have the Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Site. We're getting a tremendous number of visitors in the community, but we noticed from the CDC, we weren't capturing any dollars. The dollars were being spent mostly in Auburn and Montgomery. Auburn, as a matter of fact, in Lee County, is the highest revenue generating area for tourism in the state. At least they were until recently. So a lot of those dollars, we contributed to a lot of that. We were bringing the numbers but not capturing the dollars. One of the things we did, because we didn't have a lot of restaurants and they were limited, we have Tompkins Hall on the campus, which you got to go on the campus of Tuskegee University, you got to plan it, you got to do it at the right time. Then you had the Kellogg Center, which is restricted. We started developing and encouraging local caterers. We had one caterer who was kind of okay, she was coming along. So we talked to her. We told her about her problems, told her what she needed to do to improve. She could cook, she could do a good job, and she could cater a reasonable party. But if this was supposed to start at 8 o'clock, she might come in right at 8, trying to get it going. You're supposed to be here at 7:45 and ready to go. 7:30, actually, the food ought to be at 7:45. We had to work with her on that. We had to tell her, get everything you need and get consistent help. We don't need to hear about you and your friend or your husband or your nephew, cousin ain't there on time. You got to have consistent people. The point was, by working with her, she was able to improve her business and captured a ton of business. And funny thing, last month she was telling me, I'm so busy, I don't know what to do. I got all kind of folks calling me. She has catered in Destin, Florida, a major event for attorneys, and all in Destin, Florida. She's catered for the Park Service. She's catered in major events, 400 or 500 people. She's catered major events for churches. The opportunity was, it was there. It was a need that could be filled, and she took advantage of it. With a little bit of help, she stepped up to that level. Now she's generated a lot more money. As one time was her and maybe a nephew or a friend, she hires 4 or 5 people. She did an event this summer that I went to that a local politician held. He had people in 3 different locations, at the pool house, inside the house, at the house next door, and in the driveway. I'm talking about, they spent probably $15,000 that evening. And she catered it all. She employed about 5 or 6 people that day. And I saw her the next day. She was so wild, she didn't know what to do, but she was making money. My point is, if you find the right thing and feel that need, it's an opportunity for you. And her business is constantly growing. So the key thing is to see what is needed and find a need. And you find it in small communities. One of the things we still haven't filled in our community is a shuttle service. We got a historic site here. We got a historic site downtown. We got a historic site out at Moulton Field. And all of us missed an opportunity when the National Park Service had some money for that. They had a grant for that to help develop that. The word came out a little bit too late, to be honest, to really put a good grant together, so everybody missed it. But we need a shuttle service around in those locations, because when you come to a community like ours, you don't know where you're going, so you're going to waste a lot of time if you got to drive around those places yourself. Some people like to do that if they got plenty of time. Other people, if you come and get off at the exit, you go to Army Museum, it'd be ideal if you had somebody to shuttle you to the other spots, and you'd be willing to pay. You just add it to the package. We had a group that came, and I'll tell you one more story about that entrepreneur. We had a tour group that came from Huntsville, related to A&M. They sent 2 buses. They asked us at CDC to put the tour together because they knew us. We put the tour together for 2 days. Part of it was here in Montgomery. That caterer catered in Tuskegee, and they went to Tompkins Hall, and then she catered the meal. They came to Montgomery the next day, and we had to make sure she was on time. She catered on the Capitol Hall line. But that's business from Tuskegee and Tuskegee dollars coming down here. So that's the importance of entrepreneurs to a small community. So we generate more dollars because of what she and her team put together. So if we had somebody to put together a shuttle service, that would be more dollars. You have more opportunities. The other opportunities you find are solutions that entrepreneurs provide and ideas. A lot of times you get stuck in a rut, so to speak. You can't figure your way out. Entrepreneurs come up with ideas and solutions to problems. That's the key to entrepreneurs in a small community. And then the other key thing I'll talk about is the energy they provide. They provide new energy. We get comfortable in what we're doing. We get used to not having something. Entrepreneurs are going to tell you why something should go or why something should be done about a given situation. Entrepreneurs can revitalize a community. And our downtown has largely been vacant. 2 people from California came to the community and provided a service that we didn't have right there on the square. Beverly and Bobo O'Rourke. They came and opened a place called Tiger Paws. So we had a place to provide lunch right down there on the square that had been vacant. The most recent thing is down on the other end of town, which is totally blank. I mean, we've been trying to put together a program to redevelop the downtown. We're working with Main City right now. But this young man who was having success in his business decided to expand. Now he's on Main Street. If you go down the other end of town, you see it busy 24/7. They were so busy the night they couldn't wait to close. That's how funny it is on a Sunday night even. And that's C&K Wings. He's an entrepreneur. He knew what he wanted to do. He checked into it. Then he moved downtown. So now downtown on that other end of town that used to be blank at night, it's a lot of activity going on. You have to find a parking space. And it goes all the way around the corner because of that much activity, because of an entrepreneur. So that's what entrepreneurs do for a community or a city. They can create activity, they can solve problems, they can provide solutions that were not there, and they generate dollars and provide jobs. Now, the other thing that we do is we try to encourage and provide support wherever possible for entrepreneurs. We provide support by incentives, whichever a city or county can do. Incentives are where we can give discounts or take off something in terms of taxes to encourage you in terms of your business if it provides jobs, provides something that the city can see it will benefit from. We can provide utility support, as we've done for several businesses that I'll mention later. Utility support and infrastructure. There are key infrastructure when you go into certain businesses that you have to have. And if you don't get that, the business is not going to function well. We had a major expansion of business last year that we had to go in and do a major infrastructure input. Utilities board paid for that. Now, we could have charged them, but we recognize that we're going to get a return. So if your city is working with you, or your community, they will help provide you so that you don't have to come out of pocket for those costs. So don't always jump out there when somebody says you got to have something. See if somebody can provide it in terms of an incentive, as we did. We have free trade zones. Realize where you are in our community, we're a free trade zone. So if you're doing international things or anything export or anything major in the community, there's some taxes you will not have to pay, and you may get rebated on because you're in Tuskegee in a free trade zone. We're in opportunity zone out by the airport. Not downtown, unfortunately. I'm very disappointed in that. And not at the university, Brother Robinson, but we are out at the airport. So we're very pleased at that. And that opportunity zone means that people in North Carolina, for instance, who have done very well and have capital gains can turn around and invest there in Tuskegee in that opportunity zone, and they're going to get great benefits. So that encourages them, people who have money. So you may not be able to find the money in your community. There are people that are itching to invest their capital gains so they won't have to pay taxes on it. And then they won't pay taxes in the end when they make a profit. So it's an excellent program. One of the things that their president there put together that will benefit businesses. It's opportunity zones. And I think you all are going to have something in Montgomery in a few days, tomorrow, about opportunity zones. So please check on that, because that can help you get investors for a project you otherwise would not get. Right. And so the other thing is new market tax credits, and that goes anywhere. That's very, very important. If you're trying to build a business, if you can get new markets tax credits, it's a process in it, but it helps you in a big way get the financing you need for major projects. Now, there's good business foundation practices that are critically important when you're an entrepreneur. And many of you probably know this and have dealt with it, but I'll just highlight it quickly from the standpoint of economic and business development. First of all, you want to look at business consulting. Talk with somebody who understands business if you're starting a business and what it takes. You want to get an accountant at the beginning, a tax preparer. Most people, most businesses that make money do not get an accountant or the other people they need. You need an accountant or tax preparer. You need an attorney to set you up properly. You need an insurance agent to protect yourself from the liability that you're going to encounter. And finally, you need someone who understands the local requirements, licenses, fees, zoning, inspections, and codes. Most entrepreneurs are people who have ideas and they got energy, like I said, and they go out and just get it done. I got a business, how they got to do it. And you're so busy doing it, you don't do these things. And what happens in most cases, and I can tell you 8 out of 10, I'm not going to say 9 out of 10, but 8 out of 10 of the businesses we've dealt with, they go out and get started, and they on the back end have to come back and start talking about, oh, I got my taxes 2 years behind, 3 years behind. I got do I need to get an attorney? Yes, you do. You should have got an attorney from the beginning. Insurance. They don't have insurance, and they find out that, like we had a person who, because of product they have, didn't realize they are very, very liable until somebody told them, you better go get an attorney to cover yourself. Because if something happens out of your product, you could lose everything you have, including your home and your car and your savings. So that's why you want to have an attorney and an insurance agent. It's not a little side thing. That is a critical need for anybody who's serious about business. Entrepreneurs are energetic and they're excited about their business. But the seriousness of business is where you have to sit down and take care of those things that are required. The other thing an entrepreneur wants to take note of, out of all that energy and all that drive that an entrepreneur has, if you cannot manage, get you a manager. Many entrepreneurs make the mistake of not getting a manager. So you'll see a business take off and go well and all of a sudden die. Because it's one thing to develop business. It's another thing to keep it going. It's another thing to understand employees and cash flow. That's management. That's not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneur gets an idea, gets a business going. They find the dollars, they get the energy, they got the drive because they're determined to get this business open and running. A lot of entrepreneurs cannot manage. That's just the case. If you study any books, there's a difference between management and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is starting a business, taking the risk, having the energy, having the drive, putting in the hours. Management is sitting down there getting the details. The details will kill you. Learned that a long time ago. Details will put you under. So if you're not a manager and you recognize you're getting behind, find somebody to manage for you, even if you have to hire them part-time. Because you want to take care of those details. Because as you're growing, that's what can either help you continue to grow or cause you to go down. Now, a lot of people we don't think about as entrepreneurs. They are business people, they're small business people, but they don't take care of those things. And in this room, we're mostly, well, we're all African American, pretty much. And I think you say from Haiti, so we're all in the same culture, basically. But understand that the biggest thing that hurts us is failure to take care of those details. Any person who makes a lot of money, whether it's small business, an athlete, or an entertainer who comes into a large money, or a lottery winner, the thing that hurts them the most is they don't take care of these details. So when they're out earning money, making a lot of money, or excited about this money going on, in the background they're losing ground rapidly because nobody's taking care of the back office, so to speak. Those are the details that you have to take care of as an entrepreneur or a small business person who's succeeding. When you're succeeding, you're out there taking care of your business. If you're an athlete, you're trying to do better and play better and show out the best you can. You don't have time to be looking about what's going on. So you better hire a good attorney, good insurance agent, a good accountant, and hire more than one. Or else you come out like all these athletes, like everybody say, how did they come out? They ain't got no money. Because nobody was watching the money while they were out there taking care of their business. They were acting, or they were playing ball, or doing what they had to do, and the folk in the back room was moving that stuff around, just moving around. And when they show you, say, oh, doesn't this look good? See the yellow stuff in the orange? It look good. They didn't see the yellow sheet over here that say, you got tax to do that's going to kill you in a minute because somebody didn't take care of your business. So as an entrepreneur, never underestimate the importance of the activity in the background. Because if not, you'll see like so many cases of folk in our community who've done very, very well in business, in entertainment, and in sports. They lose because they have not taken care of those things in the background. Entrepreneurship is the drive to get the business going, to keep it going. Management is staying on top of the details, whether they're personnel or otherwise. Other qualities of an entrepreneur: confidence. You got to have confidence. You cannot doubt yourself. Entrepreneurs are risk takers. When everybody else say that's crazy, oh, I can't do it. I won't do it. You get people you give an idea to, you want to be partners. Yeah, they think about it and say, oh, no, he must be crazy. They won't say it to your face, but that's what they say when they leave you, because they're not going to do that. And you don't see them encouraging you. Entrepreneurs are risk takers, and they don't doubt themselves. You got to have confidence, and to an extent, you almost have to be arrogant, like a good athlete. A good business person. You almost have to be arrogant because that's what it takes. You have to have confidence. And on the spiritual side, you have to have faith. You have to have patience. It may not happen immediately for you. I'll give you two examples. Locally, we got a business called Old School Seafood. Now, they're about to come back, but it took him at least 4 to 5 years to get his business started. Now, what he used to do was drive around in a van, and he had a trailer on the back. You remember what was on that trailer, anybody? You remember what was on the trailer? A freezer. It was a freezer. He was selling fish. So he drive around this van in this trailer, and he go to the community, and people know he's coming, and they were buying the fish. Finally, he decided to get a location. So entrepreneurs developing. And it was interesting to see him, what he did, because it took him about 4 years. I know because he came to our office every other week for about 3 or 4 years. We got tired of seeing him. I liked his enthusiasm and encouragement, but he'd come and ask about everything. Say, look, have you gone and done this? Have you gone and done it? Yeah, but I'm going to do this. But fortunately, he was able to get what he got done. He got enough done where he could get his range hood and then open the business that he needed and got his business going and did well for a couple of years. But it took him 3 to 4 years to get there. Most people want to see the business go in 6 months. And you'll see a lot of people fizzle out after 4 or 5 or 6 months because they're going to run into a barrier. One thing about entrepreneurship, there's success, and that's the sunshine, when you got success and things are going well. But there's also the dark side with clouds and storms. And you got to be able to ride through the clouds and storms. That's where the patience comes in. So fortunately, he was able to get his business going. We helped him to get a $7,500 loan. They wouldn't give him a major loan, but they gave him enough to get his range here. They got him open. Then finally, when someone saw that, a private investor came to him because they bought his food, they liked him, and invested in him. He was able to open up his restaurant and did well. He got some other football players, former friends of his, because he was a former football player from Tuskegee, and got his business going. So patience is critically important as an entrepreneur. Persistence is important. He had persistence. He had the energy and the enthusiasm. And as a risk taker, he was determined to get there. He was creative in terms of how he went about it. Because he turned around, like I said, sometimes you look to other people to get assistance. He came to School of Business at Tuskegee University and the School of Architecture, and they came and painted his building free of charge. Gave him a whole new look. And his business increased rapidly because they painted blue on the outside and made it look a lot better. See, it was a sort of a dull, it was almost like this color. Just a little bit darker than this, so a little more of that reddish color to it. And you know, it was okay. It was an old service station. But when they came and put that blue on there, a little white, and then you had the look like the ocean on it, he had all kind of people stopping at his business. And so it was very successful because of it. But he looked for help that didn't cost him anything. That's where the partnerships come in. That's where the networking comes in. That's where you look around for assistance in other places. And that's where we help in the community as a community entity, as a city, and as a CDC to help you get to those other places that will get you things that you otherwise would have to pay for. On the dark side, the other thing I want to mention to you, which I say again and I'll highlight, it's a lot of hard work and long hours. So anybody you talk to about going into business, please help them understand it and understand it yourself. It's a lot of hard work and long hours to get to this point of success. The Commodores came home the other day. They came back to Tuskegee, and they were just super excited because some of them had been there in a while. We joked around and talked. I used to play tennis with William King when he was back in Tuskegee. William King had one of the hardest serves I ever saw. And I sponsored a tennis tournament that brought people from New Orleans, from Washington, D.C., from Memphis, Tennessee, from Atlanta, Georgia, years ago. And I get in the tournament, and I'm learning tennis at the time, but I helped put the tennis tournament together. And who do I draw in my draw in the tournament but William King? The hardest hitter on the court. All I could do was get out there, and as I was telling Varner, I get in the farthest corner as far back as I could, and that ball would come over, and I just stick the racket there and hit it back. And I figured after a couple of times, if I angle it this way, it would get back inside the line. I was about to beat King. I beat him 2 games because he never had anybody hit it back to him. He was so used to serving so hard, he just served, and then he'd sit back because he figured nobody was going to return his serve. But we were joking about that the other day. The Commodores, we talked about what they did when they were in Tuskegee. A lot of people don't know they played at the elementary school, and what is Tim's right now, the Institute Middle School, used to be the high school. They used to practice there. They played together for almost 10 years before they made it big. They played the Chitlin Circuit, as they call it, all in these small clubs in the South. Most people don't know that. But see, that's the kind of patience it takes to get where you are and sticking to it in the hard work, constantly playing. And they said they got upset with each other time and time again because they had to make each other, hold each other accountable to be there for practice and be there on time because they were serious. They wanted to get somewhere. And that's another key thing that we have to do as entrepreneurs. You have to hold your folks accountable. If you got partners, one of the things you got to do is hold your partners accountable. I don't care if it's your husband, your wife, your friend, your family member, your best friend. You got to hold them accountable. You need to know what's going on in your business. And if somebody's supposed to be there at a certain time and do something, you got to let them know when they're not doing it. It's not okay because it's affecting your business. I got to know, as partners, I'm going to do the best for you. You're going to do the best for me. And we both going to do the best for that business because that's what it boils down to. Too often in our community, we don't hold each other accountable. I don't care if it's business partners. I don't care if it's elected officials. We don't hold each other accountable. And then it's too late when it's going down and we say, oh, they should have. Oh, they could have. Somebody should have said something to somebody. I don't know if your feelings get hurt, tough luck. You might hurt somebody's feelings may get hurt, but it may help the business. Another example, the good days and bad days I'll give you is Dennis Kimbrough. Anybody know Dennis Kimbrough? Many people probably do. From Atlanta University Center. He told his story that you may have heard as an entrepreneur. He said he was struggling, trying to make his business go. And he was putting everything on the line because he was really hyped into it. He was determined to be an entrepreneur. He was going to own his own business and make it go. He put everything into it and didn't realize he was risking his daily living. So he got to the point they weren't paying their bills, and his wife kept giving him a hint, this is kind of getting tight on us. He kept going, and he was so busy as an entrepreneur with that energy, enthusiasm, he wasn't paying attention to it, but she was. Next thing you know, they're getting notices about the car note being behind. But he's determined to make this business. He said, like most entrepreneurs, just give me a little more time. It's going to happen. We're about to get to the break. So one day he comes home. He gets a call from his wife, and then he's coming home. He gets to the home. She's there getting ready to go to her sister's house or some relative with the baby because they had a newborn baby because the lights got cut off. See, that's entrepreneurship. That's not an individual story. I'm glad he shared it. I listened to it years ago for the first time, and I realized how serious he was. The same thing happens to a lot of entrepreneurs who can't get the money and go borrow against their home. These are things that happen to people. So you have to keep a balance in that as an entrepreneur. Those are the dark and cloudy sides of it that challenge you. You're not always going to have great days, but you have to keep a balance in there. You're trying to get to the point of success. But as it came out, he didn't give up. He struggled through it. He worked it out with his wife because he kept that communication going and became very successful. He has a couple of books out now, and he lectures at Atlanta University Center at Morehouse and Spelman. Wrote a book, Think and Grow Big, I think it's called. But it shows what entrepreneurs go through. You don't know it. You'll never see what an entrepreneur goes through. You'll never see people going who can't pay their bills and you think they're doing well if it's an entrepreneur, because the entrepreneur puts all their money in their business. But you got to kind of keep a balance on that. And that's where your partners help you, your friends help you. But that's what entrepreneurship does. It gives you a drive. I'm going to give you two examples because we'll take some questions and answers of people who've been successful in our community. Tuskegee is a small community. You wouldn't think we could develop that much from our community. We've been very, very fortunate as a historic community because there's something about the energy in Tuskegee that drives people, creates that entrepreneurial spirit. The first entrepreneur in Tuskegee, who would you say was an entrepreneur? Not exactly an entrepreneur, but who would you think of as an entrepreneur? Lewis Adams. Lewis Adams, a freed slave, only had a 6th grade education. He could speak 5 languages, but he only had a 6th grade education. When they came to him after the slaves were freed and asked him about getting some money to help a legislator get elected, a white legislator, he said, yeah, that's fine, but what I need is some money to start a school. He said, what? I need some money to start a school. Because, see, he was tutoring his brothers and sisters and friends at the big house. Well, whenever they had a chance, he was trying to teach other freed slaves and people who were coming out of slavery. So he made a deal and got $2,000 and a little land to start the school. And remember what I said earlier? That's entrepreneurial because he's solving a problem. He saw a need. It wasn't about money. It was about a success of something to go forward. So what did he do? He was smart enough, which a lot of us don't do today, which I said a minute ago. He knew he could not run a school. He's not a manager. He was an entrepreneur. He got the deal made. That's what entrepreneurs do. They start and get the deal made. So he sent for help to Hampton University. And that's where Booker T comes in. And understand this, in entrepreneurship, we say the good days, the bad days, and the breaks. The first time he sent, guess what? Nobody came. The second time, this guy was supposed to come, and he didn't come. But guess what? The third time, who came? Dr. Booker T. Washington. Divine intervention. Because the first man probably never would have done what Dr. Booker T. Washington did. Neither would the second man. But the right man came at the right time. And the fortunate thing is Lewis Adams recognized, I'm an entrepreneur. I got this thing done. I'm not going to step in. He said, this is my thing. I got to run it my way. He recognized, I don't know how to run a school. I need to get somebody who knows how to run a school. And them folk in Hampton then educated some folk who know how to run a school for black folk. And that's what he did. That's the entrepreneurial spirit. And he came, and Dr. Booker T. Washington came, and he started National Business Alliance. He didn't just talk about education, he talked about business. He talked about farming, how to make a farm into a business. He brought up Dr. Carver there. He brought Robert R. Moulton from MIT, the first black graduate. He went and got the best talent. That's what entrepreneurs and managers do. So he was an entrepreneur manager. Lewis Adams knew he was only an entrepreneur. Dr. Booker T. Washington had been trained, so he was a manager and took his entrepreneurial and managerial skills and took it to a whole nother level. So that's why we have that spirit there. So when you look at what happened in Tuskegee and people come there and get excited, I'll give you one example. Clarence Ball. Clarence Ball opened up a nursing home in Tuskegee when I was younger at a community college. He struggled to do all the things. He found the regulations. He would tell us about the headache that the state of Alabama was giving him to open up that nursing home. And guess what? Clarence Ball owns about 11 nursing homes in the state of Alabama today. Right out of Tuskegee, Alabama, was a young man. Came there from Mobile. Second one I give you is Paul and Dolly Marshall, husband and wife team. Came to Tuskegee as in a training program for McDonald's as managers. McDonald's set up a store, took a risk and opened a store in Tuskegee, sent them in there as a couple, and that's why they took a risk, because they had two people. I would see him every morning when I'm going to get my coffee. He is coming to his little Ranger truck. Little Ranger, you know how the Ranger looked now, back in the day, the little small Ranger. He didn't have a big truck now. Like everybody today got a big truck. He had a little Ranger truck, and his supplies be stacked up on the truck. He couldn't hardly get all his supplies in there for McDonald's because he'd have to go to Montgomery or wherever he was to get his supplies. And then he'd get out and he'd say, "Hey, Brother Haygood," and I'd get my coffee. Hey, Brother Marshall. Today, they just redid that McDonald's, 2 years ago? When they closed at the end of May, that's how it was scheduled. The week that students left, they took that McDonald's and knocked it to the ground. The week before the students came back, the McDonald's was back up, brand new McDonald's. That he did at first McDonald's years ago. So successful, they built a new style McDonald's. My point is, because of his work, his dedication, his good partner, and his wife, they now own, I think, 6 McDonald's. They own every McDonald's in Auburn. Where did he start? He started in Tuskegee. The old Tuskegee. See, that's what I'm saying about opportunities in places that you don't understand can put you in other places. Why did they own it? Because once he got the franchise in Tuskegee and took the risk, you couldn't, when you sell out in Auburn, you have to sell to another McDonald's franchisee in the area because he has the franchise. So he got all the McDonald's in Auburn and the new one at Shorter. At that exit, where the Loves is, there's a McDonald's there. They own that one too. So you look at what opportunities can be and you take advantage of those opportunities and you go from there. So we had a lot of good success stories there and we're very, very fortunate. The final one I want to share with you is Draco. And I'll go back to the thing that I said earlier about patience. Jeff Potter, who's a construction known as Draco, we had a meeting Friday. It was a pre-closing meeting. We're about to close on a project, Exit 38. This project, anybody from Tuskegee, Macon County knows we've been working on it 8 years at least, right? Maybe longer than that. So it's got to have been his dream more than 10 years. I know because I was on the council 4 years. I've been mayor a little over 2.5 years. When I came on the council 6 years ago, we were talking about that project. Now, we had a pre-closing meeting last Friday. And on the 15th, we should do the closing papers. He started out with a project that's going to be about $3 or $4 million. Today, that project will be $7 million. At Exit 38, he will put up a Shell service station with about 20 pumps or more. He'll have a pizza, CC's Pizza, no, it's Godfather's, one of the pizza places next to it. He'll have his chicken place that he franchised, not franchised, but he owned one of the franchises on 29. It'll be there. He'll have a Greyhound bus station. This is the only Greyhound bus station along 85, a brand new Greyhound bus station that'll have 5 stops in Tuskegee. It'll be a whole new facility on the side. And he'll have a 24-hour huddle house, brand new huddle house. $7 million project. And I was telling you they're going to have a truck stop in the back for 20 big trucks. So when you see the ramp up there, they're expanding, it's perfect timing because we're going to need the extra lane for the trucks and the buses to get up on there. Been working on that project 10 years. He was talking in a closing meeting the other day. It was just funny to hear him talk about it because, see, most of us have been working on it 6 years. When you're elected official, when you get to be elected official, you understand it. You're ready to produce something. You can't keep going on. Well, I'm going to do like folks do, pat myself on the back. Because, see, 2 years ago, when he came, he hadn't signed his agreement with the city and corporate district because we own the land. I said, look, he going to have to come and sign this agreement or else we're going to pull out this deal. I said, look, we've been going on this too long. Now, either he going to join in like the other folks who signed or we're going to pull out this deal, because see, he's hanging us out there. We getting grants, put in infrastructure, we're going to put in the roads, we've done the access road. He's probably going to shoot up, and we're going to be hanging out there. If he doesn't develop half of the project that we got and jobs problems, we won't be able to do. But by pushing them, all of a sudden, all this dragging that was going on, it got legs and started moving. And all of a sudden, we coming to the table and about to get to a close. So sometimes you need an little extra push from somebody else. And I wasn't trying to be mean. I wasn't trying to be nasty. What I was trying to be was business. When I came to the city, a lot of stuff was not going as business. I'm going to tell you, we're going to do business so that the city benefits and you benefit. I want you to benefit as a business person, because if you don't succeed, we don't succeed. But I don't want the city to suffer in order for you to be in business. So we're going to handle this business. So when I started pushing and saying, we got to do this, and the other council and the other people understood that and said, yeah, y'all got to come on. That's when all of a sudden it picked up and got legs. Now, it might have just been timing. I'm not just patting myself on the back. I'm patting everybody else on the back, because we all said, look, we're ready to do something. And the county commission helped us. The state gave us, we're now about $2.5 million worth of grants for our infrastructure. And DOT was out there first thing, 7:30 Friday morning, telling us about the entrance and excess lanes so we can get this project going. It was patience. That's an entrepreneur. 10 years plus, he had an idea. He didn't give up on it. He kept doing what he was doing. At the same time, he was trying to develop this. And you know what he's getting? He's getting new market tax credits. He's getting other breaks, opportunities on money. He got so much money, it's not even funny to help this deal go through. But he was patient enough to keep on his idea and work on that. So I just say to you, a city can give you help. There are other organizations in the city that can give you help, like the university. There are other people who can give you help. That's why you want to network. But you got to have patience. You got to have determination. You have to have persistence. You have to do what's reasonable. You got to get the help. You got to get your attorney. You got to get your accountant. You got to get your tax preparer. You got to get somebody who's going to protect you in terms of insurance. And you got to listen to other people who can help you out. My final story. My dad, a lot of times I didn't recognize his wisdom. He told my uncle years ago, when a state lawmaker from Tuscaloosa had to step down, he said, you ought to run for that position. He had just gotten on the city council, been on the city council. Harrison said, yeah, he said, everybody tell me how to run for that position. Because he was very popular. He said, and I remember we had the meeting at Thanksgiving dinner table. Everybody used to come to our house Thanksgiving. Dad said, Harrison, he said, I don't know. If I were you, I would stay in that position. You were pretty good in Tuscaloosa. Well, you know, they went to school at Stillman, so it was a big thing for a black councilman to be in Tuscaloosa. Harrison said, well, everybody trying to get me. He said, I'll tell you what. Now, if you go down to Montgomery, and you look at the legislators, you're going to be one among 140-something. He said, but you stay in Tuscaloosa and you go up, you're going to affect a whole lot of things. And here I am thinking, my dad told me he'd be a state legislator, and he don't recognize he'd be at the state. What kind of power that is? Dad was right. Harrison stayed. Mayor DuPont lost. Walton Maddox won. Harrison had been on the council 2 terms. He got to be first black president of Tuscaloosa City Council, served 24 years, became Walt Maddox's main confidant because Walt didn't know anything, and he needed some help, not only the black community, but throughout Tuscaloosa. They became just like that and got a lot of stuff done for West End and all of Tuscaloosa. When Mercedes came there, guess who went to Germany? Harrison went to Germany, helped with the deal over there. Harrison wouldn't even hardly fly across country, let alone go to Germany. That was the funniest thing in the world. But that shows you when you listen to people around and listen to knowledge and wisdom, how it can help you. That was well beyond anything I could imagine, because all I could see he was missing the state legislature. Dad saw what the impact could be long term. Tuscaloosa is the 5th largest city in the state of Alabama right now, 5th or 6th, and one of the fastest growing. He was part of that major growth. And still, even when he's not there this year, he's in a major position in Tuscaloosa, but served 24 years. The first black president of the city council, and next to Walt Maddox, who was running for governor last year. Had he won, Walt Maddox was going to pull him down to the state. That's what happens when you listen to other people and you do what you got to do and all these things you got to do in entrepreneurship, and you can get where you need to be. So let's continue to help each other, recognize our opportunities, look around who can do what. Trust who you need to trust and hold each other accountable, and we can get a lot done. Thank you.